I've suggested that Google Quizzes are great ways to give kids practice or to have them submit some homework to you. So I'm going to make a quick sample to try and answer a few questions. So I'm going to put this in a shared folder. So I'm going to create a new and I need Google Forms. So a Google Quiz is just like a Google survey. It is a Google form. There are templates, but you probably just want to start with a blank form. I know I'm in a shared folder. You don't have to be, of course. Um, and every Google document has its own URL address, and of course, that would be all you would need to do to copy and paste and put that to share it, share that URL address with your students later. All right, very quickly, whatever title you give this, so this could be section 12.4 homework, or it could be practice. It could be a quiz that you actually get a score that you record in your grade book. So all different ways to use it, make that clear to the students. When you give it a name, that by default becomes the name of your form, but you could be more specific than that. What makes it different than a survey? So this probably looks familiar to you from all the surveys you've done. You've done check boxes and pull downs and short answers. Um, what makes it different when you make it a quiz is that Google will grade it for you. So especially if you have simple all multiple choice questions, the students get quick feedback. So of these settings, and again, I got to the settings by choosing the gear icon. These three tabs, the one that makes it a quiz is the third one, pretty obvious. Make this a quiz and assign point values. It doesn't mean that you have to record this score, but even for homework, it's nice for students to find out, oh, I got 4 of the 5 problems correct. If you have free response questions or if you let students submit files to you, then you're going to have to score them. And then students can see their score only after you go in and say, for this problem, you got 3 points. For this problem, you got 4 points. If it were all multiple choice questions, you could let the students get all of their feedback right away. So these options completely up to you depending on the choice of assignment that you're doing. Under the general tab, you always, I think, want to collect their email addresses. I also ask them their name. I think you probably only want students from your school to do the quiz. If it's homework, then I let them repeat it many times for practice. If it's a quiz, then I would limit to one response. If they can do it repeatedly, then why not let them edit it instead of starting completely over again? Letting them see summary charts, how many students got question 1 correct, and so on. So that is completely a matter of choice. And the presentation options, you've seen progress bars on surveys so that you can see you've answered half of the questions. You've almost finished, that's up to you. Shuffling the questions, the only problem is if question 1 is for their name, then you want that to be stay as question 1. So, but if they're sitting next to each other, you might want to do that. All right. Show the link if you want them to be able to submit another response that shows up at the end. Um, the confirmation message is just after they finish and hit the submit button, so you don't need a message there. All right, so this is now set up as a quiz, and the student responses will all come to you in a separate file. You'll have the option to see the responses in spreadsheet form, and you'll also be able to see the nicer responses in tables and charts. All right, so my first question is always a short answer, and I simply put last name, first name, so that I don't have to tell who they are based on just their email address. And this button required, pretty important. Sometimes if you're giving practice, you might not make them do all of the problems. So the required choice can be obnoxious if students want to go in and just try question 3 again, because if the required button is clicked, they cannot submit until they answer every question. So think twice whether you want the questions to be required or not. No answer key, there's no point value for their name. And then I just hit plus to do the next question. All right, can I make this look different might be your question. And those pretty things come from how you set this up. So customizing your theme, so you'll see that that just changes the color. Choosing the image, these might look familiar to you. Um, if you don't want all of your quizzes to look the same. So you'll see what is going to happen there. And we can change the color and that image. And if you really want to personalize it, you can upload an image for that banner at the top. And I took a file from a colleague and I took a screen clipping, saved it as a JPEG. Oh no, I don't have it saved right now. Let me show you how I would do that. Here are some problems that Sarah gave to me to share. And I have a separate screen clipping app that I use, but if you don't, and you use Microsoft Word, under Insert, the screenshot, if you pull down, you don't have to insert the entire screen, you can insert just a clipping. And if you had 6 different Microsoft Word files open, it would give you a choice of all of them. And then it pasted it into this new document. And then all I do is right click on this image, save as a picture. Right click, save that screen clipping as a picture. And to keep my desktop from getting messy, I always save them. You can leave it as a PNG, but JPEG works fine. I always keep delete this picture. Yes, I want to replace it as delete this. And so now I'm in my header, so I can upload, I can either drag and drop, or I can just browse and delete. This is always going to be the image I'm going to pick. And let me show you what that did. So it personalized the appearance of the quiz. So make your theme, whatever, not too important. You don't have to personalize it. You don't have to make it look pretty, but that's up to you. All right, so once we get ready to go here, if I choose plus, just to show you some of the different things we can do, I think you are familiar with multiple choice options in surveys. The only difference when this is a quiz. So let's just get in a quick example here, and I put in my options. And if you have a desired format, and that's not what I meant to do, let's back up. I wanted a capital A parenthesis. Notice that Google is smart enough to say, oh, this is one of those people who wants this format. So it tries to match. And then I just put behind there for each of these, I click and put in what my choices are. And I can put in as many as I want. And if I click here, and notice, I guess I'm on my own to type letter E, none of these. If you change your mind later and you say, oh, I really only wanted 4 choices, that's what the X is for, to delete it. Notice that each of your choices, you could, instead of typing, you could insert an image as your choice. So math teachers, you could say which of these is a parabola, and then your choices can be 4 different images of graphs. So excellent that you can insert images. So if I don't want a none of these option, I just click that X. How does it get a score? By clicking on this answer key option. And this is where I say how many points. So if it's simple homework practice, you might just let it score each one as 1 point, but they can all have differing point values, but it's all or nothing on a multiple choice question. Click if you wish to add answer feedback. Incorrect answer. Sorry, and now look at what we can do here. We can insert a link to another document, or we can insert a video. Watch the review video, please. And then you could click to insert a video. I'm going to insert a video elsewhere, so you'll see how that works. And if they get it correct, you can just say whatever you want. You do not have to put in answer feedback. That's completely up to you. And when I click save here, and what I didn't do for question 1, and notice I can come back and edit each of those. I'm still in the answer feedback. When I'm happy with my answer feedback, I have to click this done. And then if you want the students to have to answer every single question, don't forget to click the required button. If you say, oh, I think I'm going to forget that, and you're doing all multiple choice questions, you'll save time. If you click this duplicate, then it's going to give you a quicker way to do your next question. So then I can just type in question 2, but my answer feedback, if you had a sorry and an excellent, those will all stay the same. It'll always be worth 1 point. It'll always be required. So this duplicate question is pretty handy. We don't always want to do multiple choice though, so if I don't like this question, I just delete it. If I want the next question to start from scratch, I just hit the plus button here. And this time I want to show you that you don't have to type in the question. So what I'm going to do for question 2 is insert it as an image, just like I did that header. So I am going to go back to Microsoft Word, and I took Sarah's questions and I just enlarged them. You don't even have to do that. I just made them a bolder font. And again, I can do that, insert a screen clipping. So I'm going to put that screen clipping in this second blank document. Insert a screen clipping. Many of you have other ways of inserting screen clipping. And then it comes back to this same question. I guess I already did question 1, so I really wanted to insert question 2. I don't know why I would be that precise about it, but I choose whatever I want. The screen clipping gets pasted into this document, but I didn't really care about that. What I really wanted to do is right click on it and save it as a picture. And again, PNG file would work fine. And I always keep it in that delete this, so I always know where the question is. It never gets away from me. It's always delete this. So what I want to upload, and it should go right back to the same place. That's what makes this speedy. So you can do all of your clippings first and then save the pictures one at a time. And there's question 2. If it was multiple choice, I would leave the multiple choice in the image, and then down here I would just put letter A, letter B, letter C, and so on. Solve the rest of the triangle. This is not a multiple choice question. So this is where I might have the student show his work on paper, save it, and upload it. It says when we let the students upload a file, it will go to the owner's Google Drive. So I click continue. I have a choice here for questions. Show your work and submit a file or JPEG image. And you can give whatever directions you want. Please circle your final answers, whatever you wish to do here. And what can the student upload? If you are not specific here, you can restrict, but if you leave this, let's see the type of files that you have to choose from. So the student could submit their file as a video or a PDF or an image or even an audio file. So personally, I would just leave this off and let them put in any file type that they think is going to show me the work that I need in order to grade it. So here I copied from Sarah that this is worth 6 points, but Google doesn't know that until you go to the answer key. And then I want to make this 6. You don't have to use the arrows. You can highlight and type on top of that. Answer feedback you can put in, but you don't have to. But you always have to click done to close your answer feedback. And again, do you want students to have to answer this question, or could they skip it? So required or let them skip it at their hazard. That's up to you. All right, what else might you want to do very quickly? We've talked about inserting images, but you might want to insert other images that are not part of a question. So a Google image search might be handy. I might want to search for a parabola. We can select any of these, but let's just pick one. Once you have it highlighted, insert will come up as an option. And you could say questions 3 through 5 refer to this image, whatever your directions might be. And then you might have some multiple choice questions about that image. What are your options for the image? The 3 dots are always more options. So center, right align, change, remove, whatever you wish. So if you say, oh, I don't really like that parabola, if you hit the change button, it'll go right back to that browse select choice. Change your mind, you can remove that image. All right. So I'm just going to say sample parabola here and not ask any question about it, because I might also then want the students not only to study that image. So notice that that could be a set of notes. That could be a clipping of your lecture notes or something you want to put in. And then you might also want the students to watch a video before the next question. So adding a video with this playback icon. Unfortunately, not all formats are supported. If you know the URL address, if you put a non-YouTube URL, it might not be a format that's supported. So to keep the video going quicker here, I know on my YouTube channel, I think Volume of Revolution, some video should show up. There might be 5 of them. I'm surprised only one has that in its title or subject matter. So you can, if you had 5 choices here, notice you have a play here. You could preview them to choose which one you want to insert. It is already, it has, once I click on it to get this blue outline, then when I hit the select button, it will insert the video. And again, I don't have to put anything here, but I could say watch and learn before answering question 3. All right, and then question 3 could be any type that I want. So again, I could go back to a multiple choice question. Question 3 is this weird question with some options for the answers. This is my quick typing. And remember, when you do a multiple choice question, what you need to set up in your answer key is you need to say which is the correct answer. So the green is the correct answer. And if you want it to be scored, then you give it a point value, whatever you want it to be. Answer feedback is optional. Let me review. Under answer feedback, you have the choices. If the student gets the answer incorrect, you can give them a message, or you could attach a file, or you could insert another video that they only see if they get the question incorrect. Correct answer is what do you want them to see. So you could have 2 different sets of feedback depending on how the student answers that question. So quick and easy. I think it's very user friendly. I would always forget when I first did these, once you're looking at the answer feedback, you have to click done before you can go on to do anything else. And don't forget, if you want them to have to answer every question, you have to click the required button. Once you get questions that you like, so if I liked the format of question 2, I can come back up here to select it. So click on this little box here to edit, and this choice is to duplicate. So when you get a format you like to save yourself time, you can duplicate that question, and you'll say, but I don't really want it to be here. This is going to have a completely different image. So notice when I click on the image, then I could click change. So I can use the same format. I don't have to retype it. I can just change the image. And then once I've changed the image of the question, I grab those 6 dots and I can drag it and place it somewhere else in the order. So if that's now going to be question 4, you could still duplicate question 2 and then drag them around to be in the correct order. What do you have to do to finish? Um, Absolutely nothing. If you want to see what it's like for your students to do it, then you use this preview button, and then you actually become a student, and your previews will be recorded as responses. So right now, if I click responses, you'll see that we have none. Um, if I click the preview button, then it is actually asking me to enter each of my answers. And this is where if you have that required button clicked right away, you are not going to be able to go on unless you actually submit all of these. So what happens here if I am a student and I want to add a file, I can just upload whatever I want to from my device. So let me just select a file here. So if delete this is actually my answer, that's what will happen for the students. So pretty easy. They could take a picture with their camera if they did the work on paper. All right. So they are answering each of these questions. And if it said required, then I would have to add that file. And then when we hit submit, so this is a required question, so it's not going to let me submit until I give it some file. So what do I have here? Juniper berry recipes. I don't know. I guess I'll just hit delete this because I don't know what some of those files are on my desktop. All right. So, and I didn't limit them to one file, so they could actually give you 5 files if they wished for one question. So you might want to limit it to one file per student. All right, now let's see if I can submit. So you can practice your quiz, and then it gives me choices here. I allowed them to do this. See previous responses, edit your response. So see previous responses. I am the only person who responded, so it's only going to show my responses. Okay, so no responses previous to me for this question, and it's showing the correct answer for those. All right. And notice each of these things are opening up as new tabs. So a hazard of Google. All right, so there's teacher responses. You'll see those graphical forms and the ones that we need to score. So here's Joe Smith. And how will you score it? So you can view them in a folder, or you can just click and view them here. All right, so that would be how you would see each of the students' work by looking at responses, go back to questions. So if you didn't like this, so notice how I did that was this preview button. And your responses you will see in your Google Drive come into a separate file that is clearly marked as responses. So I think that's probably enough. I hope I answered a lot of questions. That probably was a lot more than you wanted to know in one video. So let me know if I can help.